Hello, hello, hello. Hello, world. It is your boy, Mr. Vinny Dangerous, and I am back with another edition of the Dangerous Minds podcast. And as of November the 6th, 2016, I am here to let the world know that I am ready. I am ready for war. And no, I'm not talking about World War III. So if America is given the misfortune of having Donald Trump as their next U.S. president, please God, I don't want that to happen. No, what I'm talking about is the war that is going to be waged against me by all of the Wheezy F as in fanboys that are going to be coming after me after this podcast. I'm ready to take on his mentees, Drake. I'm ready for a lyrical battle with Nicki Minaj. Hell, I'm even ready for the man himself, Lil Wayne. Because after his comments on Nightline about Black Lives Matter, I have to respond. Now, in all seriousness, though, seriously, I'm here to talk about today's episode called No Role Models. But before we get into that, shameless plugs, I would like everybody to follow me on the official podcast Instagram at Dangerous Minds Podcast. I put it on the cover for every episode since I made the page like a few months ago. I really appreciate everybody that's been participating in the discussion posts that have been, telling people about the page. I've been seeing people follow me that I had no type of relation to. They just heard of me from another person because they love the show. I really appreciate y'all. And I would also like to give a shout out to Courtney, who hit me up on the page and told me, asked me to do this episode, which it was already kind of turning, the gears were already turning in my head. And, once an outside force, this outside force being her, kind of gave me the confirmation. I was like, boom, let's do it. Yeah. And also, as announced a few weeks ago, I haven't mentioned it on the podcast in a while. Yes, I Am a Dreamer, the EP. The project I've been working on for almost a year now is set to drop December 1st on my birthday. If you want to do anything for me on my birthday, you can save your money. It only going to cost $9.99 on iTunes, Google Play, wherever you can buy music from online. I'll even have physical copies ready to go. You've heard it here first. I will have physical copies, and there will be you'll be able to buy the tracks digitally on iTunes, Google Play, be able to stream it on Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, all of the above. So just want to put that out there. December 1st, Yes, I Am a Dreamer. The dream comes alive. Now, let's get back to the topic at hand. Mr. Lil Wayne. And honestly, out of everybody that said some crazy shit, from Charles Barkley, my comments that I had to say about Michael Jordan, Cam Newton, out of everybody that has said something, he's the least surprising. It kind of just rolled, didn't even really pique my radar until I actually saw the video. Because everybody talking about it, he had already said that he didn't really believe that racism still existed because he got white fans at his show. I was doing some research, and apparently an officer named Bob saved his life when he shot himself in the chest, when he was a little boy. That's another reason why he doesn't see racism. And look, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I've even talked about that on my show. Hell, this is what this show is about. This show was put together because I wanted to share my opinion. But that's the thing about sharing your opinion, is that people that don't agree with your opinion will share their opinion on why your opinion isn't right. And that's what I'm here to do today. So, and I'm not only here to talk about Lil Wayne too, by the way. I'm here to talk about everybody that y'all put your hopes in. All these guys that people look up to that are not role models. But whether they like it or not, they're in the limelight. They're in the spotlight. And they are an example. They are setting an example for somebody that is a fan of theirs, that admires them, that looks up to them, whether they like it or not. So then that's when you have to ask yourself the question, when this is all done, when this is all said and done, my career is over, hell, I'm dead. You know, rap is forever. But if you in the grave, you know, that's it kind of thing. It's like everything else is going to be reruns. Like when a TV show get canceled, they play your reruns. Your reruns will live forever, but the show itself is dead because there won't be any continuations, just like with your life. But anyway, when it's all said and done and people look back at your life, you're going to ask yourself, what example did I set? What mark on the world did I leave before my time here on this planet was up? And like I said, the whole thing kind of just went over my head. I really didn't care. You know, I was in a very good mood this week, you know, getting everything together for the EP I've been working on for so long. You know, I'm in the process of buying a new car because of the blessings that have come to me because of that. And, you know, I was in a good mood. I really wasn't even thinking about this whole shit with Lil Wayne. And then I saw the video, and when I say that I laughed, my first reaction wasn't even anger. Because this is the thing, when people were telling me about it, and when people like Courtney, like hit me up about this, about the whole thing with Lil Wayne, right? I was like I didn't watch, I was reading the screenshots with the subtitles that have been floating all around, like, all over social media, all over like the blogs and everything. I was reading that. I was like, yo, this nigga is fucked up. It's like, oh, this is what he got to say. But then I saw the video, and I'm not gonna lie, I laughed so hard. Like, this didn't even feel real. Like, it felt so staged, like, to me. When you watch it, especially the part when he says, he looks dead at the camera with a smile on his face, and he says, my life matter, especially to my bitches. I was rolling. I was done. Like, I downloaded the video to my phone so I could go back and watch it over and over again. Just that one part, because it just had the comedic timing to this was so brilliant. Like, this did not look like a Lil Wayne interview with Nightline or with, whoever, like 60 Minutes. Like, this didn't look like one of those sit-down interviews that felt important. This looked more like a parody, like a Saturday Night Live sketch. Or even, it really looked like a parody, like it was a Boondocks episode. That's what it made me feel like. This was an episode of Boondocks. And McGruger I'm talking about that seemed like some shit that he would have put together. I laughed so hard. At the time, in the time of me watching it, it almost felt like I was watching an episode of the Boondocks. So, that's why even now I am so lighthearted with this situation. Because, what do you expect? But there's people up in an uproar because it's not the fact that it's Lil Wayne saying this. It's the fact that it's somebody that they idolized saying this. Somebody that was at one point considered the best rapper alive. When he was putting out a million mixtapes. When he was putting out a feature on everybody's song. You couldn't turn on the radio for a good 4 years, maybe even longer, without hearing Lil Wayne's voice. And people supported him, and they loved him, and they was with him every step of the way. There are still some people, even with everything going on with Lil Wayne, even with his track record of not so stellar song outputs, not so stellar features, like, even with his career on a decline in quality, people will still defend him and still line up for whatever he decides to put out. Those are diehard fans. But some of those people are the ones that are so upset. Like, they feel like their dog died, kind of thing. Or, yeah, better yet, they found out that Santa Claus wasn't real, kind of thing. Like, it always baffles me when I see artists like Talib Kweli, Common, Mos Def, just artists of that caliber, Slum Village. When people say prolific, when those type of artists say prolific stuff, it's kind of taken like, it's like there's people that like me that respect it, and it's like, yo, you hear what that said? Like those, if Common said some dope shit on a new song, like if he dropped a new song right now and he said some real prolific shit, and then I go back to a Lil Wayne fan and say, yo, this was some dope shit, you should hear it, and then they gonna listen to it, and then they just look so bored. But then if Lil Wayne says something that is pretty much like Common or Mos Def or Talib Kweli or artists, I don't know why those are the only three I could think of right now. I'm so sorry. But let's say if an artist like that, like an artist that really does this shit and really goes hard and like really speaks about the issues that go on and they speak about them frequently, like Lupe Fiasco is another person that could say something that really just blows my mind on how not only deep and introspective and thoughtful, I combine the words, they could put that shit together and make it sound so hot at the same time. And then I'll try to show it to somebody that listens to Lil Wayne, that listens to... And look, I'm not bashing it, because I like some of the shit Lil Wayne put out too. Even some of the stuff that people like shit on now, like I kind of fuck with. So I'm not... This is no way of me saying that I don't like Lil Wayne, I don't like his music. That's the difference between the conversation now versus the one with Michael Jordan. What I'm saying is, if I could play something that was so dope, and then somebody hear it and they just so bored. Like, not only what he said, but how he flipped that shit, and they'd be bored. But then if Lil Wayne says something that is just so surface level, or somebody like that, like a Young Jeezy could say something so surface level. Even, at no disrespect, but everything Tip is saying right now has been either said before or so surface level, but people are taking it like, wow, this is some real shit right here. This is so deep. And then when they do a 180 on you, and then they tell you that, oh man, I don't see racism, all lives matter, and then everybody's so, oh my God, like this is not just Lil Wayne, this is Kevin Gates, this is Young Thug. Those are those guys that may say something every once in a while, but when a microphone is put in front of them and there ain't no beat attached to it, all of a sudden they are even more dumb and stupid than their normal output. I don't like Kevin Gates, and I'm so with Young Thug. I'm just gonna say that right now. But that's the thing that just baffles me, is when they say this stuff, it's like your whole world crashes. And then it made me think about J. Cole's track, No Role Models, and how we could have people that are like 80, 90 years old that made such a difference from years and years ago, and if they pass, people will feel like an angel just left this planet. And then they look at the crop of young up-and-comers that are in the spotlight now that could have legacies that could stretch out for years and years. I mean, hell, the fact that we don't have too many people that legacies can stretch years and years because of how one-dimensional they are, how surface level they are. They're not making a real impact. They're just here to make a quick buck and leave. Like, the fact that you can look at icons from yesteryear and hold them at way more value than the people that are coming up now is just terrible. Like, there is like a big divide between the people who made an impact 30, 40 years ago and then the people that have been around for 5. There's nothing that they're doing that comes even close to where it resonate, and then people will look at that and say, you know what, that person really made a difference. That person made it, even on a small level. It could be a small change. I'm not telling you to go out and pull an Akon in Africa and bring lights, to those regions that did not have those resources. But I'm saying, write a song, make an impact. Like, sometimes people have been talked off the ledge by the right song playing at the right time. So when you have all this negative shit to say, when you on the records talking about selling drugs, killing niggas, doing drugs, and then you want to turn around and get up on a podium and talk about how we need to stop killing each other, stop the violence, all this other stuff. Like, I love Snoop to death, but it's just kind of a contradiction. And I'm not talking about now because he don't do it as much when he makes his music. But when he did make his music, when he was still cripping, he was still gangbanging, he was still killing niggas, he was still offing them, he was still doing everything, and then turn around and have a peace rally. It's just like, it sends mixed messages. Like, I posted this a while back. I said I got so offended when rappers would come up and then they just be like, I'm not a role model. And it pisses me off because, for one, you're just copying Pac. And Pac had a whole different, mindset behind that. I think when Pac said what he said, he was trying to turn people away from the negative image that he was portraying after he got out of prison. Because he didn't speak about this until after he got out of prison, and he put out, Hit 'Em Up and All Eyes on Me. Like, he was trying to be an example before then. But, that's another story for another time. But let's just say his hands was tied once Death Row Records got into the mix. But, that was his intention behind that. But now people just take it as an example to just be a ain't shit motherfucker. And then they think that the best thing that they could say is, hey, kids, don't do what I'm doing because I make this shit look good, but you shouldn't do it either. Like, that doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Like, you're on television. You don't even have a message behind it. Like, even the dudes in the 90s that used to rap about selling drugs, it was a purpose behind it. They used to rap about selling drugs and doing all this criminal shit so they can feed their family, so they ain't gonna be hungry, so they keep the lights on. Y'all niggas just doing this shit to be flying flashy and spend it on some stripper you just met, or just spend it on some girl just because she fine. Like, tricking is real, and I don't support it. But then you want to make this shit look so good. You have the cars, you have the diamonds, you have the big ass mansion, you have all the pretty girls, but then you want to tell us not to do it, that you're not a role model, so you shouldn't aspire to be like this. What kind of mixed messages are you sending these people? And then these people grow up and they think you're the greatest thing in the world, and you can't even stand by them by saying that you don't agree with what's going on, the discrimination. Like, people have their opinions about Black Lives Matter, and I've never got up here and never got up on anything and said that I am a part of it per se, but I support it because at the end of the day, it's not just about cops killing unarmed black people. It's about the fact that when a black person dies, it doesn't get the same attention. It always gets met with a but. It gets met with a, well, maybe if you wasn't doing this, or maybe if this didn't happen, or maybe if you would respect yourself more, maybe if black on black crime, maybe if this and that and the third. I don't fuck with that. And that's why I support it. And that's why I stand with it. And that's why I understand where it's coming from. Because I've experienced racism. Lil Wayne, you've experienced racism because they wouldn't let your ass get courtside seats at a front row game at a OKC. I mean, back at OKC. So then you want to tell me that you don't understand racism. You never seen racism. The fact that you can get on stage in a concert earlier this year and lead the crowd in a chant of Black Lives Matter. Or the fact that you can come out with songs that talk about systemic racism. And the fact that you can get up on songs talking about police brutality. And you could get on songs talking about the misfortunes of the people in Katrina and seeing that how white people didn't care. So this is the way I kind of rationalize it. It's like Lil Wayne is either you were high as hell on everything imaginable. I mean, because the man got to be depressed. That's why as part of me, it's like I can't really go so hard on Lil Wayne because he's got to be depressed. I mean, just look at everything that's been coming out about this man. Like I said, the quality of his music has tanked and has been very noticeable. And people have been calling him out about it a lot. A lot. Like Lil Wayne get up on a feature, people line up to listen to it, and it's doo-doo, and your own fans trash you. There's some people that will ride or die for you, but you've lost a big portion of your fan base because you have not been able to keep up the quality. I'm not even checking for the last couple mixtapes he did. I didn't even want to listen to it. And people were all over Twitter talking about it was trash, and I knew. And I didn't even have to download it to tell you that it was going to be trash. Because his songwriters got fired because Lil Wayne and not paying them because Birdman got all his cash. Maybe that's another reason why he's very depressed, because he ain't got no money. He's talking about, I'm a young, black, rich nigga, and you all in the news about how you ain't got no damn money because Birdman got it. I said an interesting joke when I saw this meme about when they said, hey, Lil Wayne, would you donate $1 to the Black Lives Matter movement? And then he made like this crazy ugly face while holding a wad of cash, right? And I said that it's funny because even if he wanted to, he'd have to ask Birdman first. Because all his money is in his pocket. I mean, that would leave anybody depressed, is that the fact that if he left, he died right now. And this is a guy that has been in the news a lot for his financial issues, for his low quality in music, you know, his contract disputes, and also his seizures that he keeps having all the time. That if he died right now, he wouldn't have a penny to leave to his family. And that's sad. So I would be depressed too. So he could be high off every fucking thing right now. And he just didn't know what the hell he was talking about. Because you get on stage and you get on these songs, you say one thing, but then you get in front of these interviews, you say a whole nother thing. There's 2 interviews in a row that you kind of change your stance. Or this is what also could have happened. Like I said, with his songwriters not getting paid, maybe, you know, those songs that he's talking about police brutality, he's talking about systemic racism, you know, the misfortunes of everybody, you know, during the time of Katrina. Maybe, just maybe, those aren't his words. Those aren't his views. He was just given a pen and pad. He was given a piece of paper after somebody else had the pen and pad and sketched out his life on those records and then gave it to him and said, this is what you're going to say. Maybe that's, you know, where that came from, and that's why there's no connection between that Lil Wayne and this Lil Wayne that was on Nightline. Or you just need some attention. Now, who gets the most attention? Just like I pointed out before, on the XXL cover, the guys that are the worst are the ones that get the most attention. Lil Yachty, Lil Uzi Vert, Designer. Designer's not that bad sometimes. You know, the guys that are looked at as the lowest common denominator of hip hop, and they're the ones that get the most attention. while guys like Dave East have barely gotten a mention. Anderson .Paak, unless he got a new video or a new song out, he really doesn't get much press like he should. Denzel Curry is dope as hell, and we haven't even heard his name mentioned one time. He's almost like the forgotten member of the XXL cover. And honestly, he's the best rapper. I think overall artist, Anderson .Paak is the best one, but right after him is Denzel Curry. Denzel Curry is the best one as a rapper on the whole thing. It's supposed to be a freshman cover highlighting rappers, and he doesn't get any, get any press. So when you look at that, who gonna get more press? They're probably gonna post something one time about you standing up for Black Lives Matter, but they're gonna talk about you for days when you go against it. So maybe he just needs the attention. What new Lil Wayne album about to come out? Or mixtape? Maybe that's why he getting on Nightline and talking crazy as fuck. Because he got something to promote. But then that goes back to what I was saying before. These people idolize you. That's why I want people to be careful of who they decide to follow. Be careful with who you decide to make your idols. Because if out of those 3 different scenarios, the last one is the worst to me. Like if he's depressed, he's high, he don't know what he's talking about, okay, we can excuse that. If the Lil Wayne that is writing these songs is not actually Lil Wayne, but it's songwriters, and they're giving him the piece of paper to say this and saying this is your life, that's bad. But I mean, you really can't be mad at the puppet. Be mad at the puppet master pulling the strings. So it's like, all right, it's still fuck you, but it's not as bad as the third one, because the third one means that for money, for fame, and for attention, he will quickly turn his back on you. And he's supposed to be your idol, the person you look up to, the person you will defend through hell and high water, would turn his back on you for 15 seconds more of fame. That's why you have to be careful who you follow behind. Whether it's Michael Jordan, whether it's Lil Wayne, whether it's Cam Newton, whether it's Kevin Gates, all these guys that look at people that look just like you, that are being taken out by police, and their murderers are getting off. Or those same people that go to jail for the same crime that his white counterpart committed, and he either gets let off or he gets a slap on the wrist while you're spending a large portion of your life behind bars and in prison. When he looks at people that are going through this shit, and it's so plain as day, and that this movement has come up as a way to address that, and he says that he doesn't believe in it, and then he is arrogant about it, and he says, I'm a young rich nigga, and tries to use that as an excuse to say that racism is not real, because look at me, I'm a success. Isn't that the same shit Donald Trump is saying? Or people like him? They say that they don't look at your skin, they look at the fact that, hey, I did it, you could do it too. That's the same thing Lil Wayne is saying. And he's arrogant, and I'm laughing, and it's comical, but at the end of the day, we need to pull our support from those people. We need to tell them that until they start doing right by us, we do not stand with you. That's why I say there's no role models, there's no idols, because the people, it's not just them, it's you, because you chose to follow this bullshit, and now it's coming to haunt you. And that's why I'm going to end it off today. So, that's been my time. It's been the Dangerous Minds Podcast. Follow me on Instagram. Yes, I Am a Dreamer, coming out December 1st, 2016. And just remember, pick your idols wisely.